So a dragon sees two knights, and he sighs. Canned food again.
Hey, shh.
Welcome back to Not Another Needless Sequel, where we watch movies and propose unnecessary prequels, sequels, reboots, and remakes. My name is Kane. With me, as always, is my co-host and wife, Kelsey.
Can I pause you just for a second, just because this doesn't look like it was updated?
It was.
It says Blue Beetle.
Just that word was not updated. I don't make mistakes.
Okay. All right. Find them Dragon Balls! Look out for them all!
One day we're going to do the Dragon Ball movie as soon as some poor streaming service pays to have it on their service. And you're going to wish that you hadn't done that because you're going to be like, I could have done that here. And if you do, I'm going to say, oh, repeats. Oh, this show's getting old. We're so predictable now.
Guess we'll have to stop.
Anyway.
I couldn't think of any. Dracarys.
You should have given his little speech. And it starts, he's like, Burke's a shithole. Anyway, this week we rode dragons in 2010's How to Train Your Dragon. So what do you think the story was?
Exactly what the title says, Chief.
Season 3 just can't get here any sooner.
I'm just kidding. There is a young Viking child. He doesn't really look like a Viking either. Like, he's not as big as the adult Vikings, which I guess they...
They were the kid Vikings.
I know, that's what I was saying. I guess they don't make the other kids. Like, I guess... Because they have to be teenagers, right?
They're 15.
Yeah, they're 15. I just feel like at 15, like, yes, you still have a lot of growing to do, but they were unusually small, like all of them were. It doesn't matter. But Hiccup is the son of the Viking village chief, and it is a story about how he befriends a dragon and finds that they're not actually violent like all of the village believes, and they don't need to kill dragons, and it's, you know, his journey through that.
So, I wanted to start off by saying that after the success of the movie Over the Hedge, I don't know if you've ever seen Over the Hedge.
I did.
Over the Hedge is fucking great, first of all. It's been a long time. But the producer of that movie, Bonnie Arnold, she was asked after that movie did so well, hey, what do you want to work on next? And she was a big fan of Cressida Caldwell's books, How to Train Your Dragon, so she immediately said that and got to work on this. So it starts off, with this little city, village, really, Burke. It's like on a mountainside. And
it's a cool village. I'd live there. We talked about if you would ever live in a different era in your life. And I have previously said Viking times, but this just confirms it's Viking times.
Yeah. So they constantly have dragon attacks here in Burke. And Hiccup has never killed a dragon, but he's the son of Stoic, like you said, who is the chief. And so he feels like it's expected of him. And obviously his father does make mention of it a lot, that like, oh, you're not really who you're supposed to be. But during this particular night, he's trying to prove himself, and he has this like turret that shoots a bola, and the bola hits a dragon, and he is telling everyone, I hit a Night Fury. A Night Fury is apparently like the most dangerous dragon that they know about. They can't see it, they don't know how fast it is, it just swings by and shoots this like super aggressive fireball. And so they don't believe him when he's like, I hit a Night Fury. They're like, yeah, sure. No one's ever even seen one. We just know it exists.
Right. And then he goes out searching for the dragon the next day. His dad doesn't think that he is basically a Viking or, you know, a dragon killer, which everyone in the village is, and doesn't want him to train with the other kids.
Yet several times in the movie, someone is talking about something being wrong with him. And he says this like almost like it's his catchphrase. He says, you just gestured to all of me. Because they'll be like, you're just... And they just kind of point at him.
Yeah.
And they're like really shitty to him.
So he's an outcast. But he goes and finds this dragon the next day. And it awakens and tries to fly. And you see that its tail is hurt.
Well, so I want to say that first of all, Night Fury is an unbelievably badass name. And I was super excited about that. Whenever he shows up, the Night Fury was hit by the bola and is all tied up and can't get out. And so he walks up to it with his knife and he's getting ready to try and kill it. Mm-hmm. And he just can't. He looks in its eye and he says later on in the movie that he saw that it was as scared as he was. And so he cuts off the bola. And then the dragon like jumps on him and you think maybe this dragon's going to kill him. And he decides not to as well. So he ends up trying to befriend this dragon. So the hesitation that the dragon shows when he first like puts his hand out to try and touch it, it's like a famous scene now, but apparently it was an animation error. And apparently it looks so perfect that the animators chose to leave it in the way that he like hesitated. But I really wanted to bring that up because for whatever reason I keep seeing comments on the live action trailers where people talk about that fact and they're like, they'll never be able to do that in the new movie. And every time I read that, I'm like, are you fucking stupid? They'll never be able to copy an animation from a movie. The animation in the original was an accident. You think they can't just do it on purpose again? Why not?
I know.
That's not a good reason to say you don't want to see the live action one because they'll never be able to
Yeah,
get
especially
that again.
saying that that scene is going to change the entire course of the movie. I don't
No.
think it was a tone setter, if you know what I mean. But I will say at this point when the dragon goes out, I think I, like myself, remembered how emotional this movie was. And I get really emotional about movies with animals because it goes to show how awful human beings can be to animals. Like, it reminds me of that and how it's really sad to see them mistreated and like we don't deserve them.
Yeah. So he starts calling this dragon Toothless as he's befriending it because its teeth are retractable. Like, there's like a funny scene of him smiling and it's just gummies. Like, just gums.
But in the midst of all this, he has started dragon training.
As he's like befriending Toothless, you mentioned it basically about how it makes you sad about animals, and that really makes sense because they base the appearance and personality of Toothless on cats, dogs, and horses. You know, all animals that are pretty close to humans. Not pretty close to humans like biologically. I just mean like we spend time with them a lot.
Yeah.
His face obviously also bears resemblance to giant salamanders, but also apparently the rumor is that his face is based on Stitch from Lilo and Stitch because that movie and this one were both directed by Chris Sanders and Dean DeBlois.
Interesting.
Which
I
is
could see that.
because we just did Lilo and Stitch, and now we're doing this one.
That is cool. And they're both live action in the same time frame, essentially. Pretty
Interesting.
crazy.
So yeah, he's starting dragon training because Stoic is like, you're gonna kill a dragon. You just gotta get into training. I don't care that you don't seem ready like everyone else. In training, because of the time he's been spending with Toothless, he's learning how to basically quell dragons without killing them or hurting them. Because he's learning things like, oh, dragons like to be like pet here. They like to be touched here. They don't like this. This scares them. This attracts them.
And in the meantime, he keeps... Toothless can't fly because half of his tail got injured with that bola.
Yeah.
And so Hiccup is also constructing him a new tail, and that's how they're bonding as well. I think the montage of him training and finally starting to do well shows you...
I love the training montage.
Yeah, and I felt like it showed a lot of different ways of how the dragons are not bad creatures,
like they're misunderstood.
They're misunderstood. Yeah.
Yeah, the Vikings think they know all this stuff and everything they know is wrong. And he straight up says that. He's like, everything we know about you guys is wrong. They're just making shit up. And so they think he's actually great and he's going to be a great dragon slayer because he is so knowledgeable, but it's because he hasn't had to actually kill one yet. So, as Hiccup and Toothless have become friends, he's got his tail working so he can fly out of there. Astrid, who is another child that he works with, kind of like a love interest for him, she was, I guess, like the top dog, and now she's kind of getting jealous because he is. She follows him and ends up finding out that he has befriended Toothless, which is a big, no in their universe, obviously. And she's freaking out. In order to show her that Toothless is safe, Hiccup takes Astrid on a flight with him. And she's like pretty amazed. She's kind of coming around. But then Toothless is like drawn to this big fucking mountain where a ton of dragons are going. And he can't seem to like get him to pull away from there. And they're just kind of ducking down because they don't know what's going on. There's a ton of dragons. And they're not friends with all these dragons. So they go to this dragon's nest where they see that there's this huge fucking dragon called the Red Death. And it lives in this mountain and all the dragons are forced to bring it food. And that's why they are even, I don't even want to say attacking, because all they're doing at the village is taking their sheep, and that sucks, but the sheep, they were going to eat too, I believe.
Yeah, I think I didn't take it as, Toothless doing this. I took it as Toothless trusts Hiccup enough to show him this, to be like, this is why we do what we do. It's not, I didn't feel like he was trying to get back at him or anything like that. I think they finally reached that level of trust.
It seems like the dragons are scared of Red Death, and they know that they don't really want to be doing this, because there's even a scene where one of the dragons drops some food for Red Death, and it's like something small, and the big Red Death dragon fucking jumps up and eats that dragon, and all the other dragons like panic and fly away. Like, they're under threat. They have to do this. Along with that scene, I wanted to say that as you see all the dragons flying towards this mountain with their offerings of food, one of the dragons is holding Gloria the hippo from Madagascar.
No way. I didn't notice
It is.
that. That is dirty, dude.
I know. Chunky.
I like 'em big.
So,
Damn, girl.
that should have filled him up, Red
You
Death.
huge.
Anyway, it comes time for Hiccup's final exam. The final exam is you're going to kill a dragon in front of everyone.
Because he won. He was voted as
Yeah,
the best.
basically this whole training thing was a contest. Whoever does the best gets to kill the dragon and, like, become a full Viking or whatever the fuck. So, he is like, I can't do this. Like, I'm going to have to run away. And that's what leads to them finding the dragon's nest. So, as he returns and is forced to go through this trial, he is like, all right, well, I'm just going to do it. And he doesn't kill the dragon. I think he, like, pets it.
Yeah.
And he's like trying to tell everyone, hey, we're wrong. This is actually okay. Dragons are not bad. And Hiccup, oh, that's what happens. Hiccup jumps in to protect, or excuse me, Toothless jumps in to protect Hiccup from the dragon that they have trying to attack him to kill him. And so they find out about
people
Toothless.
scare the dragon.
Yes, they force him to attack as well. They find out about Toothless. They find out about the nest. They find out about what Hiccup's doing. Stoic is disappointed in him. They chain up Toothless.
And put him on a ship.
Toothless being pinned down like that by all the other Vikings after he trusts this one Viking is so fucking depressing.
So this scene made me realize that this movie feels so relevant because of how, like, cruel and judgmental we are as people. It goes back to saying, like, we don't deserve animals. But also, I feel like it's pretty relevant even to just society today. I also think it's very sad that Stoic said that Hiccup was no son of his, and he only wants to bond over murder.
Yeah, and he says shitty stuff like that through the movie. I wrote down, like, he says, like, he almost gave up on him. He says, we finally have something to talk about when he finds out that he's good.
Yeah.
And that's such a fucked up thing. Even when you don't bond with your kids, like, there is gotta be a level of respect and understanding of different interests.
Yeah.
I see it all the time. I've told you about when I work, when kids will come in and they're buying a certain thing that their parents don't understand. And you can see the parents are very, like, standoffish and weird about it. And actually, I remember now being almost the same way when I wanted to go into Hot Topic when I was younger. And Hot Topic used to be a lot less pop culture and a lot more, like, goth, emo kind of thing. But I would go in there and, like, my father wouldn't go in.
Are you goth or Hot Topic goth?
Listen, I'm trying to tell a moving story, and
Oh,
here you
sorry.
are with your joke. So, Stoic and the rest of the Vikings are going to this nest because they're using Hiccup to lure them there. Because, like I said, he's, like, hypnotically drawn there. And so as they get near it, they see his ears are, like, going in the direction of it, and they use him to steer towards the nest. They get to the nest, and they fucking shoot a big, giant boulder at it and just knock it open. So that big-ass dragon, the Red Death, comes out.
Starts to murder them all.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, it is the size of their city, I think. Like...
Yeah. And so he starts to murder us all, but meanwhile, Hiccup and the other kids, Hiccup teaches them how all to, be a dragon rider. And they fly to help save the day. And as Hiccup gets off and is trying to get Toothless, because they leave Toothless on the ship is basically sinking underwater.
Yeah.
And Hiccup is trying to save Toothless because Toothless is completely chained down still and he's not strong enough. And then Hiccup's dad, Stoic, pulls him out of the water. But in that moment, he has a change of heart and swims down and releases Toothless.
Yeah. So with Toothless and Hiccup both back and free, they're ready to help fight. I did want to say, I forgot to say it, one of the coolest scenes in this movie is when they first bust open the nest. They shoot a secondary, like, fireball. Like, it's like they have the fucking trebuchet.
Trebuchet,
Yeah. And it's a flaming ball that flies in there. And as it flies in there, you can see it like a flare. It's lighting up all the walls. And you just see a shit ton of dragons all in the nest. Like, they're absolutely covering the walls. And I thought that was a cool scene. And they are able to defeat the Red Death. They, like, burn his wings. And so he's unable to fly. And he crashes. but it causes an explosion, and that explosion causes Hiccup to get injured.
Yeah.
He actually, like, they don't show it right there. I mean, they do, like, let you know something happened, but if you haven't seen it before, you might not know. But it reveals it by him waking up in a hospital bed, and he's missing his leg.
So him and Toothless.
Yeah, they both kind of have matching, in a way, injuries.
Because Toothless has to wear, like, the prosthetic tail. And in order for him to be able to fly, he has to have somebody riding him because they have to change the direction of the tail with the wind.
There's got to be a way around that.
Well, I actually read, so to not to get too far ahead, but to write my sequel, obviously there's How to Train Your Dragon 2 and How to Train Your Dragon 3. Yeah. So I didn't want to make my sequel too much like those. So I was reading the plots, and in the third one, Hiccup does make Toothless a tail where he doesn't need that anymore.
Oh, they wait till the third?
They wait till the third because they separate. Yeah, so...
I don't want to talk about this anymore. You just broke my heart.
The third movie... They have, like, this land of the, like, lost or, like, the hidden world where dragons can be safe. But Toothless and the Isle of, like, Berk try and enter that, and the other dragons aren't friendly to it. So in order for dragons to be safe, and Toothless meets, like, a little lady dragon, they have to separate. And the Isle, like, the village of Berks lives closer to that, and they are the protectors of this hidden world. But the dragons have to stay there so no human can ever find them. So he builds him a tail where he can survive on his own. And then you have to see the scene because I watched it. Toothless.
Why are you going to tell me, though? What if I want to watch it?
But I don't care.
Oh, okay.
You can cut this out. Toothless.
Well, I know it's about me. It's not about the audience.
Toothless and his lady have baby dragons, and Hiccup and Astrid have a little kid. And they meet up, like, years later, and Toothless recognizes that it's Hiccup's daughter and smiles big with his no teeth toothless self. It's so cute.
Well, I'm glad that they ruined the movies by breaking them up, and they couldn't just end it as them being friends and going to far, far away or something. Thanks for nothing, guys.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I can't even think about watching the movie. I'm too sad.
So, due to the popularity of this film's release, many animal shelters reported that black cats were being adopted and named Toothless after this movie came out. So, with a budget of $165 million, it got out of the box office with $494.9 million.
So just a small profit margin.
This is probably, at least since we've been counting the budget and box office, this is one of the biggest we've done.
Other than, I think, Shrek.
Well, I just said one of, and
I know.
We haven't done Shrek.
Oh, you're right.
Just want to get your Shrek plug for this other DreamWorks movie.
Say what's your problem, baby?
On Rotten Tomatoes, How to Train Your Dragon has an approval rating of 99% based on 210 reviews with an average rating of 7.9 out of 10. I rated it a 4 out of 5. Think that the animation does not always look as good because it's older, but
no judging.
Without
shouldn't be judging for that.
Blaming that. Overall, it's a fun story. I think it is pretty sad the way that they keep downing Hiccup, and I feel like by the end of the movie, while it is resolved, everyone's had their change of heart. I'm like, you said some stuff, you got some work to do, Stoic.
I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. I really liked the movie. It's just so sad and emotional. I told you animals make me feel that way, so I am glad that in the end only a few had to die, I guess. I don't really know, but yeah, it was good.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is give you the names of 5 dragons, and you're going to tell me without looking at them.
Okay.
It doesn't matter if you look at them. I just don't want you looking at my stuff and giving away all the secrets. I like you to be surprised as I say it. Psst. I can't wait till I don't have to sit side by side with you to record this.
Thank you.
And I can have a laptop that you can't see.
No problem.
And our own mics.
No doubt.
Could this dragon be trained? Because obviously they didn't think these dragons could be trained, and they were, including a Night Fury. Mm-hmm. Smaug?
No.
He was intelligent. He chose violence.
Yeah, there was a full-ass conversation.
He was just like, I think I'm going to
kill you all. Watch this. Yeah, and tried to burn down a village.
You woke me up and you're in my gold, so I think I'm going to go kill his village.
Desolation of Smaug.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Shenron?
He's also highly intelligent, and he seems that he already knows the rules he's supposed to follow and kind of beats to his own drum. So it's not that I don't think he could be trained, but I think he's, kind of already trained for what he's supposed to do.
I don't think it'll happen because I've seen how impatient Shenron is.
He's like, I'll go away if you don't wish.
It's time to wish.
He's
Let's
like, if
go.
you're gonna call me, you better have your wishes
Get your
laid
last
out,
wish.
buddy.
I'm
Thanks.
still waiting.
Yeah.
The Hungarian Horntail. That's from Harry Potter. And I'd like to take this opportunity to point out how weird it was that in the Goblet of Fire movie, when Barty Crouch got the bag of dragons and he's going around to all the contestants, letting them grab it. One of them gets the dragon, and I don't remember what it's called. I think Chinese Fireball, maybe?
Yeah.
He's like, Chinese Fireball. Ooh. And that's so weird. He only does it for that dragon.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking, the first time I'm seeing this movie without having read the books, I'm like, oh, they're going to show that fight at least because this has got to be like a crazy dragon. They don't.
I honestly don't think, no.
I don't think so either. It was
Because
pretty
he was just
mean.
out for blood.
Yeah.
Like,
It broke its chain to chase him on his broom.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. And I don't, yeah. The
Okay.
other, because we already talked about the dragons in this movie weren't trying to kill people. They just wanted sheep.
Yeah, that's true. Well, then again, the Hungarian Horntail, remember when Hagrid shows it to them? He's like, they're like mean to it. Maybe it didn't want to be there either.
Probably not, yeah.
What about the little ones? You remember they get the little version?
Mm-hmm.
I've always wondered, is that alive and do they get to keep it?
I don't know. Probably not.
Okay. Dragon from Shrek.
Yeah.
Are you sure? I think you got to be slinging
Oh,
the right
you're
kind
a
of
girl
meat.
dragon. I mean, of course you're a girl dragon. Yeah, I think she could. I mean, she kind of was trained by Donkey.
I don't know if she was trained. She's her own woman.
She can be trained.
Like I said.
They were just mean to her and, like, chained her down. I think that she could be trained and be friendly if you were nice to her.
I guess. How about Viserion from
Yes.
Game of Thrones?
Yes. Because it depends on your bloodline. Targaryens, yes. Remember when we watched Game of Thrones for the first time ever? And we watched it, like, when we both had time to pay attention to it. And we sat there and we looked at each other. And you were like, Jon Snow's a Targaryen. And then I was like, holy shit, he is a Targaryen. And we had this whole conversation about it. And turns out he was the chosen one.
People will get mad.
God, that's such a good show. We predicted that so far prior to the actually being revealed. Because if you watch it... And if you guys have seen it and did notice it the first time, obviously you know it going into it. But if you watch it again, there are hints the entire time, the whole show, that it's him. Anyways, what a good show. But yes, he could be.
Sure, I guess. I don't know. Feels like you got to be a certain person. With 3 animated films and the live-action film releasing this Friday, June 13th, How to Train Your Dragon does have plenty of sequels. But what is your sequel?
My sequel is a prequel, and it's going to be about Hiccup's parents' childhood and why they're afraid of dragons. Well, kind of why, I guess.
Okay.
Just a prequel, you'll hear it. Hiccup's parents met with his mom and her family entering and moving into the village when, like, Stoic, and his mom's name is Valka. You learn that in the second one. She's alive. Spoiler alert. Meet when they're both small children and her family moves in. They become friends over time and have been in love since, childhood sweethearts. They had to learn to fight dragons just as Hiccup did with all of the other children to be able to help with the raids that were occurring. Hiccup's dad started to conform to the rest of the village, but his mom showed empathy for dragons. She started to befriend them in secret and became especially close with one. Insert dragon name.
You didn't want to come up with a dragon name?
I don't know. Ophelia.
Ophelia?
I feel like that's Ophelia Heine.
That's a fine dragon name.
I don't
Ophelia
know.
Heine.
I don't know.
That's the name. It's settled.
Okay. Whatever you say.
What's your sequel called? How to Train Your Dragon, The Rise of Ophelia Heine?
Yeah.
Is that really going to be the name?
Sure.
Okay.
No, I don't know yet. We'll come up with it at the end.
Okay.
Hiccup's dad discovers that she has been gaining the trust and started to help save the dragons with the help of her dragon best friend. But because he loves her, he keeps it a secret, but is trying to convince her to stop. This is a area of strain in their relationship, but they ultimately still get married, and she becomes pregnant with Hiccup, and Stoic becomes the leader of the village. She continues to help dragons in secret, and one night during a raid, more dragons are killed. She's very sad about it. But some people are injured. And so Hiccup's parents get into a huge fight about it. And then she goes into labor. They have baby Hiccup. And then there's kind of a honeymoon phase after they have the baby. They're happy. She's just not really doing anything with dragons, blah, blah, blah. Raids continue, and dragons continue to get hurt, and then you kind of notice she has a realization. On the next raid, she is taken away during the raid, and the village thinks that she's been kidnapped. Hiccup is now left to be raised by his father, who is spending his time searching for his wife with no success, and decided to focus on the village, but is missing her every day and looking to the sky. The end will flash to the mom on Ophelia Heine as she helps to save and protect other dragons, which she always found to be her destiny. So it will come forward that she planned to be taken.
Okay.
Because she wanted to live a life with the dragons. And I will say, I got this as I was reading the plot for the next one, because you do find out that his mom, Valka, is alive and saves dragons. So I feel like this goes with the whole trilogy.
How to Train Your Dragon Destinies.
There you go.
Is that the title?
Sure.
You have to have a title. I got to put it on the poll.
Oh, yeah, whatever you think.
Whatever I think.
Dragon I don't know, yeah. How to Train Your Dragon.
How about Dragon Fart?
That's a little rude. Is it just because you hated it?
No, it's because I want you to pick the name. If I'm picking the name, that's fucked up. I mean, you can choose
How
something.
to Train Your Dragon Beginnings.
Okay.
How to Train Your Dragon Origin.
We're going with beginnings.
Whatever you think.
Oh my god. What do you think?
I didn't come up with a title.
That's part of your job. You know, I think this is a good time actually for us to do your performance review for the podcast. How do you feel your time on this podcast has gone?
Wasted. Did that hurt?
I'm gonna move on before you hurt my feelings.
Oh my gosh, I'm just kidding. I'm sweating though.
How to Train Your Dragon Tribes.
Oh.
It's my sequel.
Okay.
Every person in Berk is a proficient dragon rider now. Even more than that are close friends with their dragons. One day, Stoic gets word that his brother Berger is calling a meeting of all the Viking tribes after his tribe was nearly wiped out by dragons.
Why not Burger?
Because it's a Viking name.
Oh, okay.
Stoic is nervous about explaining their current dragon situation to his brother and the other tribes. Hiccup reassures him that if the Great Stoic changes his mind, so will they. When they arrive, though, you fucked me up. Now I'm going to say Burger for the rest of the time.
Berger.
When they arrive, though, Berger assumes the dragons are their slaves and congratulates Stoic. Unfortunately, Stoic is unsure of how to proceed and begins playing into this made-up narrative and treating the dragons as their slaves.
Well, Stoic is already a bad guy once again.
Hiccup argues with Stoic, but tries to talk to Toothless and the other dragons and tells them that this is temporary. Hiccup hugs Toothless, but is seen by Berger, who comes rushing in to question Hiccup. His threatening nature sets Toothless off, and he moves to protect Hiccup. Toothless and Berger begin fighting, and as Hiccup tries to break up the fight, he is cut by Berger's sword.
I'll tear him up.
Stoic shows up to care for Hiccup and explains everything to Berger. Berger in return claims he will be taking over the tribe since Stoic has lost his mind and begins trying to really enslave the dragons, leading to a fight between the tribes. Berger's tribe has the upper hand, but Berger loses his balance, causing him to fall off the cliffs of Berk, but he is saved by Toothless. And as Berger takes this opportunity to strike Toothless, he looks into his eye and sees the dragon struggling to survive and also save Berger as he realizes he was wrong. Berger apologizes and takes his tribe on a journey to learn more about dragons and grow his tribe's heart after all he's learned from his brother.
Did Toothless die?
No, he was just like, in my head I imagined them doing like a dive bomb and Berger's like hanging on to him and he's like trying to like stab him and Toothless is like not wanting to hurt him, but he's also trying to survive, and so he's like fighting him but also trying to protect him, you know, like he's wanting to do this for Hiccup, and because Toothless is the good guy, and that's what leads Berger to see like his struggle of trying so hard to protect Berger almost more than protect himself leads him to see that this can't be the vicious animal that he... I don't love my sequel. After I got done with it, I was like, is this just the first one again?
I don't necessarily think so. I think it's a little bit different. You know, that made me think of probably my favorite... one of my favorite scenes in the movie is after they defeat the big bad dragon. What's his name? Red Death. Mm-hmm. And nobody sees... They see they go up in flames, but nobody sees, like, Hiccup. And then they find Toothless, like, on the ground, and then... in Toothless's little wing is Hiccup.
Yeah.
I like that scene.
I like when they're fighting Red Death, Toothless is flying, and you just see the shadow of Red Death come over the top of Toothless. Like, you don't see him, you just see this big looming
Yeah.
like it's way bigger than him. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. We do so appreciate it. If you want to talk movies with us, you can find us on TikTok, Instagram, Letterboxd, Threads, and Blue Sky. We are NansPod everywhere.
NansPod.
If you'd like to vote on whose sequel idea was the best, come by our YouTube channel for the polls, or you can let us know your idea across our socials or at needlesssequel@gmail.com. Links, as always, will be wherever you are listening. If I could ask you for one thing, share a show with someone and leave us a review. That is how we get new listeners. Of course, I also ask that you come back for more Needless Sequels. Next week, we are watching 28 Days Later in preparation for 28 Years Later, releasing on Friday, June 20th.
Why wouldn't they release that on Friday the 13th? It's like a horror thing. I know it's like not quite that, but it doesn't matter. Cool.
Because the 13th was taken up by How to Train Your Dragon live action. They didn't want
If
to
I
compete.
remembered that trailer, the beginning with the song or the playback of the trailer, I would have started saying it right there.
Ooh. I don't know if you should. Might be a bit dark. Boots, 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 moving up and down again. That?
Yeah.
You don't know. Take care of yourselves, everyone. We will see you next week.
Bye.